All right, so this is my third time making this video. I made a first video, it was like 22 minutes long, and I realized I just rambled and rambled and rambled, and other stuff we'll go into later, and just didn't need to cover it, okay? So this week we're going over two topics, a democratic republic and the Constitution. So we said democratic republic. More particularly, or more specifically, we're a constitutional republic, all right? Literally means of the people, okay? Why do we call it that? Well, one, with the Constitution in a republic, it's the final say document. Everything in our country has to go back and be backed by the Constitution. If it doesn't, then it's not legal, okay? But we have to go back, and we're going to go more on this next week. We have to go back to the beginning. Where did the Constitution come from? What's real important to think about here is that, our Constitution didn't come out of thin air. So about 1,000 years ago in England, these nobles were having a hard time with their king. It was King John I. I think he was right after King Richard the Lionheart. Fun fact, he didn't speak English. He spoke French. Anyways, they were coming off of the Crusades, and King John had lost a lot of land to France. He was even known as the Soft Sword. And so he needed to find a way to pay for everything, all his wars and so forth, to gain land back. And basically he began to tax heavily his noblemen. And the nobles in the feudal system basically had plots of land that were given them by the king. And on there they had magistrates and people that took care of the land. Under them were the serfs, peasants, right? So, hundreds of years before then, a previous king had created a charter called the Charter of Liberties, basically giving noblemen what was going to be their rights, okay? And they were upset. They're going, wait a minute, we've lost all these rights, all these rights, and we would like to, we want them back. And they felt also, too, that these rights weren't given by the king, that they were somehow unalienable. They were given by God, right? God gave it to them, okay? That's a key term we're going to see later in the Constitution, all right? So basically they went to war. They basically sacked London, and they forced the king to sign the Great Charter, Magna Carta. And he did. And there was like 33 or 34 amendments to it, or basically different pieces to it. And out of that, it established that the king was subject to the people, and that he couldn't just do what he wanted, right? It established things like habeas corpus and many other terms used very much this very day in both our American Constitution and also in the English Constitution, okay? Because right now the current monarchy in England is a constitutional monarchy, okay? So jump forward, right? We've won this. We're going to go to war with England. We want our own nation. We have formed the United States of America, literally a union of sovereign states, just like Canada is a sovereign state, France is a sovereign state, England sovereign state, so on and so on. There was 13 sovereign states. Now, actually, there were 15. Okay, 15. 1, 2, 3, 5. Right. 15 colonies. Florida was a colony, and so was just up in Canada was a colony. Okay, and basically 13 of them said, you know what, we've had enough, and they formed Declaration of Independence, okay, which was nothing more than a grievance to their king, saying these are our grievances, and because of that we're going to separate, become our own nation. And in much of the wording of that, as well as our the Articles of Confederation and then the Constitution, they borrowed heavily from Magna Carta, okay, which Magna Carta borrowed a lot from the Charter of Liberties, okay? So they were borrowing. And we ended up with their Constitution. And it was all based upon the idea of people having rights. Now, yes, we can go further into this. It wasn't a perfect document, referring to the Constitution. Still not. It's always being underworks, right? Originally in our Constitution, just like Magna Carta, only landowners had the right to vote, and so on and so on. But through the amendments and the interpretation of the Constitution, everybody now can vote after a certain age, and there's no slavery and so on and so on, women's suffrage and so on, okay? So the Constitution's changed a lot, but again, it starts from way back 1,000 years ago in English history, and those ideas continue. Montesquieu and John Locke and so on, they kept talking about the rights of man and so forth. The Leviathan was a treatise on this, right? And we end up with the Articles of Confederation. And that was our first form of government. That was our first constitution, okay? And in that, we had a more parliamentary system, okay? There was a judicial system in Parliament, and Parliament pretty much elected a one-term president, a one-year president, okay? And I call it Parliament because later we'll get actually into the actual terminology for that, which was Congress, okay? But elected for 1 year. And then finally, 1787, we realized, oh, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. It's terrible. It's a bad idea. We got to change it. And we ended up with the current Constitution with their trilateral, tri-ruling form of government with the executive branch, the president, judicial branch, Supreme Court, and then Congress, okay? So we ended up with these three different ruling branches. And keep in mind, they truly are equal in every single sense of the word, okay? A lot of presidents tend to sit and think that they're above this. They're not, okay? And vice versa. Congress says, oh, wait a minute, forget the president. Do what we want to do. Supreme Court says, hold on a minute. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make a ruling and you're unconstitutional, okay? So it's been an evolution to get where we're at. But it goes back to this idea of Magna Carta, the Great Charter, that the rights of the people, okay? So we get to the point now in our Constitution, which wasn't the first Constitution. I think it was the Malaysian Constitution was the first Constitution than ours was. And but there's a little different. But ours was very specific, saying we have the right to certain things, which goes in the Bill of Rights, right? The Bill of Rights does not tell us what our rights are. It actually tells the government what they can't do. Think about that. It doesn't say, here's your rights. Okay, you're an American citizen, here's your rights. We're going to give it to you. It says, government, here's what you can do. Everything outside of this, Americans can do, right? Because again, it's we the people. So a democratic republic, or more appropriately call it a constitutional republic, is the idea that the people govern, okay? It's very unique. In a true democracy, we elect, and the people we elect, we hope they do things we like, but for the most part we elect, and they govern freely and do what they want for us, and we can vote them out and so on, okay? Well, with a constitutional republic, what we can do is we can actually vote them in and say, hey, you're going to do this, and if you don't, you're gone, okay? And there's other avenues for us too. There's other ways for us to remove someone from office or get them to do what we want. That is a constitutional republic, okay? All right, I hope that helps you out. Here's your 2 prompts for the week, okay? You get 2 things you can write about. You can choose which one you want. So again, this is your option. I want you to write about what you think at this point you've learned so far. What is a democratic republic? That's the term used in the textbook. I prefer constitutional republic. I like to separate a little more within democracy. I like to separate it a little bit more in, okay? Or 2, I want you to think about Magna Carta. And I've attached some videos going through the different histories of these, okay? Please watch them. It's about total of about 20 minutes of video, not including this one, with those ones, okay? How could we have changed or not used our Constitution and had our government we have nowadays? In other words, is our Constitution the best thing out there, right? What could have been done differently? Or, why is it great? I'm a fan of the Constitution. I'm a fan of the evolution of the people having the right to self-govern, okay? But that's me, all right? So your prompts are They're in that. I want you to dig into this. I want you to get creative. I'm being somewhat vague for a purpose. I want you to think about the Constitution as you understand it at this point in time as a constitutional republic. The people, okay? How is it beneficial? What's wrong with it? As you understand it right now, okay? This is going to evolve through the course of the semester, but as you think of it right now, okay? And then the other part you can think about answering, of course, is what could we have done differently? Understanding Magna Carta, understanding the Articles of Confederation, what could we have done differently, okay? All right. I'll get back with you, but have fun writing. And remember, you have to post once, your own, and then you have to comment on 2. Okay? All right.